We got that 53-man roster for you, and Tim Patrick is not on it.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's good, everybody? Matt Derry with you on a Wednesday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today is Wednesday, August 27th into Thursday, August 28th. Thanks for making us your first listen, everyone. Checking us out wherever you get your podcast. That includes on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. Thank you for those that subscribe to our YouTube channel. I think we had over 15,000 views Monday on the initial cut. So we appreciate all of you checking us out. Locked On Lions for this Wednesday, brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. A lot to get into today, including Ross Tucker from the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, NFL on CBS, NFL on Westwood One, former NFL offensive lineman, great analyst. Ross is going to join us momentarily to talk about the Lions. He's picking somebody else to win the division. We will tell you about that coming up momentarily. 53-man roster is now set. Some additions have been made by the Lions. We'll tell you about that. 15-man, not 16-man, but 15-man practice squad. Lions have 68 players right now down at 222 Rodwood Drive. We will get into that coming up momentarily. A lot to get into today on the program. We appreciate all of you for checking us out. Call of the day. If you want to be a call of the day, we got a few submissions on our SpeakPipe voicemail system. You can leave a voicemail at speakpipe.com/Dairy Podcast page. Might play a pair of those tomorrow. We got a lot to get into, and we got Ross coming on. So I will do a couple of voicemails, a couple of calls of the day tomorrow. Shout out to our everyday listeners, the everydayers. Love you guys and girls. Appreciate all of you that check us out daily on the podcast. That includes the likes of Tom Moriarty. Tom loves the show. Jason Johnson, Doug Gage. Saw my boy Dylan Straka tonight, the pride of MSA, Mid-States Advisor. Sheil, he loves the pod. Look, we mention Joe Allen all the time. Joe, this is water, Joe. But also, new listener, got to give her a shout out. The best bartender in the country at Firebird Tavern in Troy, Leah Reffinus. Leah, love you, girl. Thanks for supporting us here on Locked On Lions. All right, let's do the business here first and foremost. Like I said, Lions yesterday, the roster was at 50 players, 50 yesterday after all the cuts and everything else. Today, the team has added 3 players. I'll get to the Tim Patrick trade in a second. But first, Lions had 3 roster openings. First one, safety Daniel Thomas. Damn, Daniel. Daniel Thomas, ex of the Jacksonville Jaguars, 5'10", 215 pounds, excellent special teamer, and will add some depth at safety for the Lions. War number 20 in Jacksonville. He has been added to the roster. We told you the Lions were going to add some defensive linemen, and they did today. Picking up defensive tackle Tyler Lacey, ex of the Jaguars, who was a 4th-round pick in 2023. He's a D tackle. And edge rusher and defensive end, and a guy that can play both inside and outside, Tyrus Wheat, ex of the Dallas Cowboys. He is now a member of the Detroit Lions. Undrafted player in 2023, 2 years with the Cowboys, played in 20 games, mostly a special teamer his first year, but in 2 seasons with Dallas has a half a sack. So again, these are guys that have been added now. All of this could change. Guys could be demoted. Guys could be put on the practice squad. But now you've added a safety, a D tackle, and a defensive end in Tyrus Wheat to the 53-man roster before we get to the season opener a week from Sunday in Green Bay against the Packers. The big news of the day, a little bit surprising, but not so much when you think about how much this franchise is in love with Isaac TeSlaa. They're in love with the wide receiver. Number 18 is the man in Allen Park. And this morning, the Lions showed their adoration for number 18 by trading Tim Patrick, veteran wide receiver, had a very good year last year, a good blocker, does a lot in the run game and the pass game. They dealt him to Jacksonville for a 6th round pick. So the Jags get Tim Patrick, and the Lions move TeSlaa up. That's what this is. People are like, well, how could they do? This is about getting number 18 on the field. Tim Patrick's a veteran in his 30s, wants to play. Didn't have a great training camp, admitted such a few weeks ago when he was talking to the media like, I'm struggling. I'm not playing all that well. But the Lions are freeing up space to get Isaac TeSlaa on the field. I know what some of you are going to say. Well, he had a great preseason. So what? He's playing against 3rd and 4th stringers. No. TeSlaa was a menace in practice. TeSlaa was doing his thing in the joint practices too. They want him on the field. Tim Patrick, solid contributor. But the Lions aren't looking for solid contributors. They're looking to add to their stable of stars. The Lions have a lot of stars. Lions have a lot of elite players on this roster. NFL top 100, they got 7 guys. Locked On Podcast Network, we did our top 100, 7 guys. Goff, Hutchinson, Gibbs, Sewell, Branch, Kirby, St. Brown, right? The Lions have got, top 100 guys here on this team. Gibbs, not Branch, right? Gibbs, not Branch in the lockdown one. I'm not saying Isaac TeSlaa at this time next year is going to be a top 100 player. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is I just believe they believe in him and they need him on the field. He would have been buried to start the year as the 5th wide receiver behind Khalif Raymond, who deserves to play, Tim Patrick, who deserves to play, Jamison Williams, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. That would have been the situation. It would have been a nice situationship. This is a marriage, all right? So TeSlaa is in a bigger role. Tim Patrick, shipped to Jacksonville, was fantastic last year as the wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4, whatever you want to call it, and did a nice job. But they believe 18 is the real deal. All right, so that's the latest on the 53-man roster as of right now, as I'm recording here on Wednesday evening. Ross Tucker is going to join us coming up next. After Ross, I will tell you who's on the practice squad and give you my thoughts. And yes, Andre Fluellen, Dan Skipper is back. By the way, and I'll do this a little bit more tomorrow, and Ndamukong Suh popping off about how he's not loved in Detroit, but gets more love in Miami and Philly. Shut up, Sue. You left. And I'm a Sue fan. Get out of here with this. He's still bitching. You know how many people in that building did not like you, dude? Get out of here with that. You left. After a playoff season, you bolted. Oh, I'm not getting enough love in Detroit. Okay. I'll explain more tomorrow because there's a bigger issue there with the current edition of the Lions and how the Lions are handling that. We'll do that tomorrow. Ross Tucker, my man, next. Locked On Lions brought to you by Yahoo Fantasy. The NFL season is right around the corner and you can feel the buzz. Fantasy football season is here. Everyone's researching, drafting, building their championship squads. If you haven't joined the league yet, now's the time, and it's all happening on Yahoo Fantasy. This year, I'm playing fantasy football on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran creating your millionth league. Yahoo Fantasy is loaded with fun ways to compete and brand new features that make the game even better. Want to play instantly with friends? Try the new Draft with Friends mode, all right? Season kickoff September 4th next week. Now's the time to start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football with so many different offers, so many fun ways to compete. The NFL season kicks off next Thursday. Don't wait. Start your league now. Draft now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. That's yahoofantasy.com FanDuel.com/LockedOnNFL. All right, everybody knows I love this man. Ross Tucker is with us. Ross Tucker Football Podcast, NFL on CBS, college football on CBS, Westwood One. Joins us right now, NFL analyst, and of course, former NFL offensive lineman here as we're getting ready for Lions season to begin. Ross, great to see you.
Great to see you as well, Matt. And I think everybody knows I love this show. I love Locked On Lions podcast. Love Lions fans. Thrilled for you guys. I was telling you before we started, Matt, how fired up I am about futurefans.com, just because I want all the Lions fans out there to have the experience they should have, which is having their children actually watch the games with them. I mean, I don't know, Matt, if you have kids or how old they are or whatever, but with my girls, like, it's been really hard to actually get them to sit down and watch the games with me. And I hear that from a lot of my friends, right? We're in our mid-40s. So a lot of my friends that have kids that are 5 or 8 or 10, they want to be on their iPad. They don't want to just watch the games and sit there and enjoy the games like we did with our dads. I mean, that was like, to me, Matt, every Sunday, it was church, then home, and watch the game with my dad in the basement. Like, that was what we did. But it's just not like that for kids. And by the way, the league knows this. The leagues, plural, Major League Baseball, NBA, they know that children are kind of consuming sporting events differently. They're worried about it. But thankfully, I found these guys at futurefans.com. You'll appreciate this. They're actually Bengals fans that a few years ago, they couldn't get their kids to watch the Bengals Super Bowl run, right? So, and their kids are like, I'll watch next year, Daddy. They're like, no. We're the Bengals. Like, we're going to the Super Bowl. You got to sit on the couch and watch. That doesn't work. Futurefans.com works. It's a storybook-led activity box that explains how football works. Right? So what are like 5-year-old kids or 7-year-old kids like? They like books. They like playing games. Well, they combine those two things so that now they understand football. They want to watch the game with you. So I think it's like $60. They have a discount code if you go to futurefans.com. You can act like you're giving your kid a gift, but let's be honest, you're really giving a gift to yourself of hopefully having your child have that shared experience for 3 hours every Sunday. And for the Lions, a lot of Monday nights, Sunday nights, etc. Hopefully for years to come.
Hold on a second, because you have middle school age daughters. I know they like Taylor Swift. You have a Taylor Swift connection, so that this all could come together right here. See?
You know what? And Alex Anzalone has that same Taylor Swift connection. So we're all from Wyomissing, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Let's put it this way. My daughters are way more interested in Taylor Swift than they are in the NFL or watching games on
or
TV.
Ross Tucker podcast.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully futurefans.com can help a little bit, but it's hard to beat Taylor Swift, that's for sure, especially with middle school girls.
All right, let's get to it. News of the day. Tim Patrick of the Lions has been traded to Jacksonville. Ross, the Lions are doing it. They are freeing up snaps for Isaac TeSlaa. What do you think?
I love it. I absolutely love it. First of all, to have a guy like Tim Patrick who bounced around the way he did, and the Lions sort of rehabbed him into getting a 6th-round pick, that's well done by Brad Holmes. That is well done. That guy was left for dead a couple times, Matt. So for them to kind of resuscitate him, revive him, I think speaks well. And they want to get TeSlaa on the field, right? I mean, they've seen what he can do. They obviously loved him. I think Brad Holmes, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the quote was he was my favorite receiver in the draft.
Oh, yeah.
And then based on how he looked in the preseason, and I'm going to talk about this on Thursday's Ross Tucker Football Podcast with Greg Cosell, because to be honest with you, Matt, I don't really remember even hearing that much or talking with Greg about TeSlaa before the draft.
Yeah.
So I don't even know. I'm not even sure exactly what Greg's eval was of him, but obviously the kid has been lights out so far, and he's more dynamic and explosive than Patrick is. The reality is, okay, you can find guys like Tim Patrick. You can find solid veteran receivers reliable. Like those guys are out there. Isaac TeSlaa looks like he's more than that, right? Like Isaac TeSlaa looks like he's got more juice than that, more upside. You said it. The time is now. And then they end up having three really good young receivers if TeSlaa can be as advertised.
It also goes to show Brad Holmes is not messing around. He wants to put the elite players on the field. The Lions have that. You're in Philly. You cover the Eagles and did their preseason games. Do you see a collision course with these two clubs at the end of the year?
I did last year. And unfortunately, as you know, and I'm not trying to bring up a sore subject, but the Lions did not hold up their end of the bargain with that loss to the Commanders. Obviously, myriad of factors, the Lions' health on defense being a big part of that. I actually think there's a bunch of teams in the mix here, right? I think the Eagles are the favorites, and they should be. But I think the Lions will certainly be in the mix. I guess I'm higher on the Packers than other people. They've been really young. They've kind of been building towards this year. Jordan Love was a little bit up and down last year. They had some injury issues last year. But I think the Packers and the Lions are clearly the class of the NFC North. I do think Baker Mayfield always gives the Bucs a puncher's chance in the NFC South. And then the NFC West is interesting because the Rams with Stafford certainly have the firepower to be in the mix. And then I have a sneaky suspicion, I said this, Matt, on the Ross Tucker podcast, I'm expecting the Niners to bounce back in a major way. I think there's really only two ways they can go. They bounce back and become one of the elite teams in the NFC again, or the injury bug continues to hit them. They're old, they're washed up, they're over the hill. I don't believe that. I think, and maybe it's the last hurrah, but I think Trent Williams and Bosa and McCaffrey, I think the Niners come roaring back. I'm actually right now, you can listen to my preview show last week, but I think the Niners have a terrific chance to win the NFC.
You just mentioned, we're talking to Ross Tucker. You just mentioned Green Bay. Do you still like the Lions to win the division, or do you think Green Bay can do it?
I like Green Bay, and I like Green Bay because I have some concerns about the Lions from an injury standpoint again. The biggest one, obviously, being Frank Ragnow. That's a big loss, right?
Yeah.
And I know we're seeing and hearing good things about Tate Ratledge or Christian Mahogany, and Glasgow looks pretty good at center. He's not Frank Ragnow. Frank Ragnow is you can rarely say this about offensive linemen, but a difference-making player. Huge fan of him and his game. So that's a major loss. And then the coordinators, right? Like there's a lot to be determined. There's a reason why Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn were so sought after as potential head coach candidates. And I've seen this in Philly a couple times, Matt, where you lose both coordinators, and no matter how ready you think you are to replace those guys, the Eagles dropped off from 2022 to 2023. They had to upgrade both coordinator spots. They moved on from both coordinators after 2023, and in 2024, they were much better. They won the Super Bowl handily. Coordinators matter a lot, and I'll believe that the Lions don't have a drop-off there when I see it.
Ross Tucker, follow him on all social media platforms at Ross Tucker NFL. Getting more games, by the way, this year on NFL on CBS as a regular analyst, and we've talked about it. I think Ross does a great job. All right, so let's take Ben Johnson away now. You bring in John Morton. More on Jared Goff's shoulders, but are you still high on the talent that is there?
Definitely still high on the skill position talent, especially, right? I think what remains to be seen is they more or less have three new guys in the interior O-line, okay? Right. Are they still a top 5 O-line? My guess, Matt, is I would doubt it, right? I think it's probably unlikely. So where are they? Are they top 10? Are they top half of the league? So O-line is a major one to watch, the interior O-line for sure. But their skill guys, I think Jamison Williams is going to take even another step this year. I've always been a gigantic Amon-Ra St. Brown fan. We know we already talked about TeSlaa. And then Jahmyr Gibbs is just outrageous. We know that. And David Montgomery. So I really believe – and Laporta. You almost forget about Laporta.
Right. Yeah.
I think Laporta is going to play well. So their skill positions are really, really good. There's a reason why Goff is considered a top 10 quarterback in the league. I do think more is probably going to be asked of him at the line of scrimmage. They already put a lot on him, and that's, Goff is sort of a like a poor man's, to me, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. He's that type of player, right? He's not mobile, but he kind of beats you with his brain. He's going to have to keep that up, and we're going to have to make sure early in this season that Ben Johnson and Goff, they had something special, right? So let's see if Goff and John Morton have that special connection that Goff had with Ben Johnson. We'll get a pretty good idea of that pretty early on.
They added DJ Reed on defense. I think that's an upgrade from Carlton Davis. I think you'd probably agree with that. The safeties are really good. How much better can this defense be, especially, Ross, and you played the game, you got to have healthy bodies out there. They were decimated a year ago.
Well, it's a shame. It's the worst part of the sport, and it still bothers me to this day. I feel like we were robbed of an NFC Championship game, Lions-Eagles. That was going to be absolutely epic. Instead, the Commanders had to go to Philly, and they got demolished, as we all saw. So, yeah, I mean, all the reports I'm hearing, I don't know if you got a chance to see him up close, Matt, but all the reports seem to be that Aiden Hutchinson's right back where he was. Hopefully DJ Reader is as well. I like the drafting of Tyleek Williams. I'm fired up about that. They still have my guy Anzalone at linebacker. And then the secondary, I mean, the best safety tandem in the NFL. And I do think Reed will be able to play at a pretty high level. And I think they need Arnold to step up too. I think Arnold needs to be better than he was last year, especially with a penalty standpoint. They took him where they took him in the first round for a reason. They need him to play, I think, at another level than he did last year.
I mentioned Philadelphia before, and you did their preseason games. I love your work online with your quick previews, talking about the birds, you always say. But tell me about how the Lions have to get to Philly's level and how difficult it's going to be to repeat. And that's such a tough town. Philly loses one game, they go crazy there. But how do you kind of view that in terms of, and I know you mentioned before, but how do you kind of view those two teams right now in a bubble?
Well, really, really tough town. And you'll appreciate this, but the only really difference with the Eagles offensively is they have a new offensive coordinator in Kevin Patullo because Kellen Moore got the head job with the Saints. That's a big deal. And I even said to Kevin Patullo, I said, is your family ready for this, right? Because you mentioned how tough of a town Philadelphia is. Well, he's the only new guy on offense, right? So what does that mean? If they lose a game or the offense doesn't play well, they're not pointing the fingers at Jalen Hurts or A.J. Brown or Saquon Barkley or that O-line. They're going to point it at Kevin Patullo, the new guy. So that's something that, we mentioned the new coordinators for the Lions. The Eagles have a new OC. And then defensively, they have some legitimate question marks, right? The cornerback opposite Quinyon Mitchell looks like it might be a Dory Jackson. That's a drop-off from Darius Slay last year. The safety next to Reed Blankenship looks like it might be Sidney Brown right now because Makuba, the second-round pick, got hurt a couple times. That's a question mark, right? And that certainly seems like a downgrade from Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. They had such good D-line depth last year, Matt, and now, they kind of got decimated. Brandon Graham, the Detroit native, retired, and then you lose Josh Sweat in free agency, Milton Williams in free agency. So they're kind of replacing those guys with a little bit more unknowns. Now, I think Moro Ojomo will fill in for Milton Williams well, but I don't know about the edge guys. They kind of signed a bunch of veterans like Azeez Ojulari and Joshua Uche and Obo Okoronkwo, hoping that those guys can give them good snaps. But, hope is not really a plan, right? Hope is hope, and we'll see if any of those guys come through.
By the way, former Eagle Avonte Maddox did make the Lions, Detroit kid also. More of a bit player now and a backup. Do you think he's better at corner or safety in your mind?
Well, I think that's the versatility, right? I think the value in Avonte is that he can be both positions. And so he more or less saves you a roster spot. He can be your third safety, and you feel good about that. He can be your backup nickel, and you feel good about that. So any one guy that can go ahead and play two positions you feel good about, I think he's probably more of a nickel, but that's also because that's what I've seen him play a lot. I haven't seen him play as much safety. There have been other guys over the years that played corner or played nickel and then transitioned to safety and transitioned very well. For all we know, Avante might be fantastic, but good luck when the guys ahead of you are Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch.
Ross, always a pleasure, brother. Great to see you. Congrats on getting more games with CBS. I know you'll kill it. You're off this weekend, so enjoy your last weekend of freedom before the season starts.
Yeah, man. Then it gets to the grind. I got 2 games week 1. I'll be in the radio booth with Kevin Harlan for the Cowboys and the Eagles, the season opening night. And then first TV game for CBS is Arizona Cardinals at New Orleans Saints next Sunday. And then I'll be doing most weeks, really, I have 2 games, which it's pretty wild, but fired up about it. Couldn't be more excited. Excited for Lions fans and excited for all of you. Before I forget again, go to futurefans.com. These guys cracked the code. Think about how nice it'd be if you just had your kids or grandkids or your niece or nephew, whoever, to actually sit there and watch the Lions game. These are the good old days for the Lions, as you guys know. Make sure the kids get on board now while the Lions are good and winning these many games.
Ross, you're the best. Thanks, brother.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Always love talking to our man, Ross Tucker. Appreciate him as always. Locked On Lions today, brought to you by FanDuel. NFL season's almost here. It's a week away, basically. FanDuel's making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Are you joking? That's amazing. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet, player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little bit more energy to your Sundays. Are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, we promised you this. Let's wrap up the show with the Lions practice squad. That's right. Now, listen, first things first. If you are wringing your hands and scratching your head and screaming to your friends about the practice squad, then the team's no good. All right? The Lions are still going to win or lose games based upon how the stars play, how Aiden Hutchinson bounces back. Once they get Aleem McNeil back, how much better is his secondary going to be? How good is Jack Campbell going to be? What about the offensive line? The starters that are there. Yes, you need backups. Yes, you need depth. All right. But I got some people coming up to me. Oh, I can't believe they lost this guy. I can't believe, this guy didn't make the practice squad. Just, it's depth and it's a good thing, but I'm not going to go nuts about it. First things first, 2 Lions are not coming back. We're not coming back. Hendon Hooker has joined the Carolina Panthers practice squad. Woo-hoo-hoo! Bye. Broderick Martin has joined the Chiefs practice squad. All right, so he's one step closer to Taylor and Travis. Congratulations to Broderick Martin. Those 2 guys gone. Lions do have 15 spots they have filled. They have 1 to go. They can have 16 players in the practice squad. Here's who is coming back. First and foremost, Jackson Meeks, wide receiver. Needed him back. He is back. Thank goodness. Also, TK85. Come on, baby. You know Tom Kennedy, baby. He's not leaving Allen Park. Ronnie Bell also staying. Zach Horton, the tight end. Jacob Saylor's the running back. Along the offensive line, Tristan Colon, Mason Miller, Michael Neese, and yes, we all breathe that sigh of relief. Big Skip, Dan Skipper, practice squad, stays. He'll be active. He's going to be active. He could be active in week 1. On defense, edge rusher Isaac Ukwu is signed to the practice squad. Defensive tackles Miles Adams and KCJ, Keith Cooper Jr., Had a really good camp. He is staying. Anthony Pittman is back for the 5,000th time. Defensive back Eric Hallett, who can play safety and corner. And safety Lauren Strickland also on the practice squad. Now, two guys that are right now still free agents and haven't signed anywhere and haven't signed to the Lions practice squad as of right now, Nate Lynn and Ian Kennelly. I don't know if the Lions are deciding between the two. I don't know what's going on there. Nate Lynn, to me, would be a no-brainer as an edge rusher. But as of right now, neither of those guys have been signed. The Lions roster sits at, or practice squad sits at 15. Also right now, Zadarius Smith is not signed anywhere. I don't know what's going on there. I figured by now it'd be Z Smith time. It's still a possibility. So there you have it. There's your Lions practice squad. Fresh episode tomorrow. We will dive more into the roster and do much more on Thursday Locked On Lions. Thanks to you for watching and listening. Thanks to Ross Tucker for joining us. We're back again on Thursday.